Warning, this video may contain content that may not be suitable for children or anyone else that is easily offended. Strong language, graphic content, nudity, bad jokes, and a possible idiot, aka myself, may be featured in the following clip. Viewer discretion is advised. And is not responsible for any damages that you receive watching this video.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Zems, and welcome to another reaction video. This video is by Nexpo. It's called A Cult in the Boarding School. This video is by Nexpo, so if you guys haven't already, be sure you swoop down the description box, click on the link, and go watch the video in entirety, because I'm about to be pausing and stopping and talking through the whole thing. Thank you guys so much for all the recent support, man. Keep doing what you guys are doing, and the videos will keep coming. We're almost at 3,500, so thank you guys for all the support that you've been giving me this far. Keep doing what you guys are doing, man. Hopefully you guys are having a good day, and hopefully you guys have a safe weekend coming up. I do have some bad news. I'm going to be leaving for deployment on Monday, so they're coming to pick up my stuff tomorrow, so I'm going to leave you guys with an hour video. This video was recommended to me by Biotic Wolf 90, so I never reacted to Nexpo before, so it's going to be the first time. If you haven't already, my name is Reprisalzems, and welcome to the Crow's Nest. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, support your boy. But before we begin, this video contains flashing images, along with graphic and audible depictions of child abuse and psychological torture. Your discretion is strongly advised. If you have a weak stomach, I strongly suggest you click out of the video, because it may not be suitable for some viewers. Please be advised, this is probably an 18+ video. But for now, let's get it. Let's go! I should just grow damn feathers at this point. Former student Matt Hoffman was aborted at the Allen School between 1974 and 1976. Had nothing good to say about the program. Wednesday calling the campus a sadistic, brutal, violent, soul-eating hellhole. Nexpo. Ooh, excuse me. That Mongolian was bust. I think that was my first time. That was today, Thursday. Oh, snap. Going down.
Wayne Kernican was stuck at home during an excruciatingly long winter. He was what his parents believed to be a problem child.
Yep, I was
experiencing nightmares, arguing with his 7 siblings, and getting in trouble at school.
I had to fight my siblings.
His parents' method of punishment wasn't the best, having gone on record to state that his father beats him with hockey sticks. It was undeniable that their humble abode in suburban Connecticut was less of a place of refuge for him.
I'm sorry to stop the video, bruh, but I used to get whoopings all the time. You don't know a whooping until you have to pick the weapon you're getting whooped with, bruh. I'm telling you, kids just don't understand, bruh. I had to pick, bruh. I had to pick the belt, and if it wasn't a decent size, my mom would say, don't worry about it, I'll pick it. I already lost my opportunity. Or if it was a switch, I had to go outside and have to get a branch. I had to bring back a small one. My mom used to be like, either you gonna pick it or I'm gonna pick it. So I had to go outside and pick the reasonable stick that I think I can take and endure the most pain. I had to see what my pain tolerance was. And I didn't want to pick the bendy ones because them shits wrap around you when you're getting smacked like this, bruh.
And more of a cell of torment. The phone rings in the kitchen.
Housekeeping.
And his mom answers. It's from a school up north called Alon. The man on the phone says that Wayne should come right away and that they'll have a private jet waiting for him at Danbury Airport.
Ooh, fancy.
His mom tells him not to worry and that it's more of an outdoor camp type thing that'll make him better. According to the flyer she read, it was proven with a 95% success rate, and their alumni were all leaving as better people than when they first arrived there. Counselors, psychiatrists, activities, friends. Alon had it all, he was told.
Tell it to Jason Voorhees.
So Wayne packed up his stuff that night. Eager, sure. Nervous, yes. But absolutely awaiting the things to come.
Uh-oh, bruh, it's not about to be good. I can just feel it in my body and tingling all the way down to my nipples and down. I mean, what? Portland, Maine. I've never been to Portland. Any Portland people out there?
The plane touches down in Portland, Maine. 2 men greet him.
Oh, it's like a little animated video.
After embarking for the school 30 minutes north in Poland, his escorts inquire on why he was sent there.
Drugs?
Nope.
Court order?
No.
Porn addictions?
So why the hell are you going?
They joke. And then things get quiet.
That's the worst.
It was at this moment when Wayne began to question whether he was going to the place he thought he was. Something didn't seem right.
Maybe
but he was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Told
the
y'all.
two pull off a back wooded road into a clearing. Looks like a camp, he thinks.
Looks like. Oh, hell no.
However, when he exits the vehicle, he isn't greeted with the silent serenity of nature. But instead, the screaming,
The Cult in a Boarding School. Reacted by Reprisalzems. That's me! Bro, if you ever go to a camping site and it look like that, bro, just get on the bus, call an Uber or something, bro. There's no way I'm him, bro. Ain't no way, boy. The Birth of a Lie, Chapter 1. Is that the PlayStation soundtrack? Oh, it's real.
The 1970s were an interesting time. Across the United States, a rise in for-profit behavior modification facilities were in action. Now called the troubled teen or tough love industry, it seemed to be a money machine aimed at altering and stifling troublesome behavior in adolescents. The exact date is hard to gauge due to the widely varying nature of the names, motives, and specialties of each of these schools, but they were widespread and only became more so throughout the 80s. It's widely believed that the parental reception to the era's youth were the catalyst for facilities like this. Given that this was the decade following the rise of the hippie subculture.
Yo, I'm starting to pause it again, but is it just me or people from like the 1970s or 60s? They just look different. They look older in high school. You get what I'm saying? I think now a lot of people look younger, or is it just me? I think it's crazy. I don't know if it's just like as generation go on, like facial features and stuff change. But if you look at them and go look at our home videos as a kids, like it looks so much different. Like they just look older from when they were the age and they had beards and stuff. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Authority was and had been challenged for years, resulting in a sort of panic among older generations.
I didn't see nothing.
Resultingly, in early 1970, a psychiatrist named Gerald Davidson, alongside investor David Goldberg and a man named Joseph Ritchie, would band together to create a school named Elan.
I thought that was Professor
a
Snake.
co-ed behavior modification program geared from grade 8 to beyond high school. Ritchie billed the facility as one that would correct bad behavior by teens without punishment, while painting himself as a genuine mentor that could help make that happen. Sitting on 33 acres of land off of Number 5 Road in Poland, Maine, Elan's main campus was highly secluded and a long shot from any outside civilization. With numerous facilities in place, the school was well equipped to handle a student body in the hundreds, and within the span of just 1 year, they'd eventually meet that metric. Numerous alumni, much like Wayne, have gone on record to state that their initial, outside impression of the school was that it was like a summer camp in the Maine woods. However, upon arrival, reality would paint a different picture. Allegedly, the final minutes of the trip there were unforgettable,
I bet.
with Elan being shrouded down a long dirt road in the middle of the wilderness, and made up of rundown trailers and buildings, giving it a frightening feeling of dread.
Listen to your first
Furthermore,
mind.
some have stated that once they exit the vehicle expecting a lively campground, they're instead faced with a sight much stranger. Some students were spotted wearing degrading signs, some shackled in handcuffs, some being yelled at, and bizarrely, everyone would just pretend it's normal.
You yell at my kid, bro, you getting a strap.
At this point, it's been noted that some students attempt to flee. They weren't entirely sure what the Elan school was, but it was clear to them that it wasn't good.
I don't have a kid though.
These escape efforts were always futile though, as Elan stationed guards around the campus to chase and subdue outliers that would attempt this. Considering how the school was marketed, touting itself as an altruistic institution genuinely concerned with helping troubled teenagers get better, it was clear from the outside that those claims were a reach. But just how far would they take that?
Very far. People do some crazy stuff if you let them, bro. And it's kind of weird how nobody tells.
What
I've
most
never
students were
understood that.
unaware of was that behind their back, a deal was made on their behalf.
Do you know which private school dealing with special needs students?
With nothing but a simple signature and payment, parents could sign their child's life over to Elan, which advertised itself as a positive, reaffirming center of growth. According to an excerpt from an early 2000s archive of their website, we can observe the vernacular they used to appeal to each parent. Dear parents,
Okay.
we're very aware of how lonely and confused you must feel as you sit down to read this. If you're like the parents of most of our students, you're faced with an adolescent whose behavior is out of control and you don't know why. A youngster who's been given everything and is throwing it all away is difficult to understand,
Facts.
but you can see that this process is progressive. The most saddening part is knowing that your offspring is ruining his or her future. Your own pain is difficult, but your pain for your child is unbearable. By coming to Elan, you have come to a truly different school. We can't offer you miracles, but we can offer you hope. We know that your journey to this point has been painful. We hope Elan can change its course.
Sounds convincing, to be honest with
On
you.
top of this, school staff were known to hand out flyers to parents while persuading them that their child just might be troubled. It's been noted that Joseph Ritchie was somewhat of a salesman. He was charismatic and excelled at convincing parents of all the good that Elan could do for their kids. The good that, as we'll soon find, was all a lie.
That's crazy.
I'd like to let it be known that Wayne's Elan admission story was on the lighter side. For most of the other students, things were handled a bit more violently. Instead of a plane, school alumni have gone on record to state that they were transported by van. Reportedly, once your parents agreed to send you off to Elan and pay the $50,000 tuition fee, they designated time and date with Elan's so-called teen escort service.
$50,000? Oh, hell no, bro. I'm gonna read my own psychology and books, bro. I don't know. My thing is, if you can't handle your kid and your kid's done, I mean, you think somebody else can fix them? Is it possible? Maybe a couple of them, but bro, if he's telling you, your own parent blood telling you to, like, you know, F off, I'm pretty sure you're gonna tell other people the same thing. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna drop my kid off and he's gonna come back very respectful and well-mannered. No. Like, I've learned, bro, you could be the best parent in the world, you could be the worst parent in the world, and your kid's gonna turn out good. Even if you're a worst parent, your kid's gonna turn out bad even if you're a good parent. People or kids or when they get older, they're just gonna make their own choices, bro. It is how it is. I didn't grow up perfect at all, and I turned out okay. I didn't have a lot. I didn't have nothing. I got in trouble. I've gotten in fight, and I turned out fine. It just depends. I don't know. It's a choice at the end of the day, to be real with you. People are like, oh, well, he didn't have a mom growing up, or he didn't have this. Like, you know, I didn't have a dad growing up. He passed away now, but freaking, I didn't have none of that. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's a lot of this stuff, you know, some people may have affect some people, but like, I feel like most of the time they use that too much as an excuse. I'm not going to sit here and try to downplay anybody else's, you know, troubles or past or, you know, whatever happened to them. But some of this stuff, I feel like they label stuff as something that it's not, and they're just choosing to do that. They know right from wrong. That's like saying, oh, put your hand in the fire. You're going to say, no, you know it's hot. You're just not going to just stick your hand in the fire unless you like on some Johnny Knoxville type stuff.
They wouldn't pick you up during the day, though. Instead, in the middle of the night when you're fast asleep, they would bust through your door and kidnap you. In years past, Elan staff have stated that since the child has no say in attending, their capture hinges on the element of surprise. According to a blog named Suzuki's Thoughts, the abduction process involves 2 men breaking into the teen's bedroom, physically subduing them, tying them up with plastic handcuffs, throwing them into a van, and then driving them to Poland, Maine, where they'd be handed over to the Elan school. Such experiences often traumatized the teens who were abducted. For all they knew at first, they were being taken by criminals to be held ransom, tortured, or worse, killed.
What the hell?
For the girls, it was even more terrifying. Some girls later recalled that they believed that they were going to be raped,
sexually assaulted,
and murdered by their abductors. One certainly can't blame the kids for thinking this way.
That's true.
Such practices had all the hallmarks of a violent kidnapping.
That's crazy.
This practice became notorious around the United States, eventually earning its nickname, the Elan Snatch. If this were any indication, it was clear that morality wasn't the school's strong suit.
Jesus.
But that ultimately begs the question, would it stop there? Or was their torment only just beginning?
This creepy thing is that people's walk around accepting this as a method. That's crazy, bro. America's wild, bro. Destination. And I'm not talking about Final Destination.
Day 1. Students would typically arrive to Elan during the early morning hours of the day. Due to the nature of their transport to campus, they were often known to resist their escorts. It's been noted that their capture was designed this way, utilizing their escape attempt against them as a tool to convey that no matter what, they're not getting out of there. And with this came the first steps of dehumanization, instilling the feeling that their basic rights have been robbed of them, in turn making them feel like less of a student and more like a prisoner.
So the military, pretty much.
This sentiment was taken even further when they're physically taken inside the school. Often, the first stop would be the dormitory showers, which served as a tool in robbing each student of their sense of individuality. Reportedly, students are thrown into them with absolutely no privacy and are demanded to remove all of their clothing and valuable items.
Sus.
After complying, they're given what Alon calls no-image clothing, which, as the name implies, simply includes a bland, colorless shirt and pants, effectively forcing them into a state of conformity. Following this, each new student would be taken into a common area where they're assigned what Alon calls a big brother. This, in essence, was a tenured student designated to be a guide. On paper, they were told to help their students adjust to their new life on campus, somewhat like a peer, while educating them on how great and effective the program is. In reality, though, this relationship was far from friendly. It's been reported that big brothers would often try to deceive their newer counterparts, enticing them to run away or to break the rules. If the student had ever agreed or attempted to listen to this, their behavior would be reported to school staff, resulting in punishment.
That's crazy.
As we've seen in studies like the Stanford prison experiment,
Oh,
I'm
that's
sure you
wild.
can see why this would be a bad idea. Oftentimes, big brother figures, much like staff, would take great pleasure in exerting their superiority over the newer students. It fulfilled them in a way that was almost cult-like.
I want that power, man. That's crazy. That power go to people's head, man. And it's crazy to think, like, at some point, people are going to just become brainwashed. Like, they're just going to get so used to that being their lifestyle that they're just going to accept it and adjust to it. Like, they're going to worship that person. They're not going to want to leave. They're going to remain faithful for that person. That's how all cults start. They get there, they're terrified, and then they start preaching to them. They start to visualize and see what they're seeing, and after that, it's a wrap. Elon Treatment Center, Poland Springs, Maine.
You know, just will not be tolerated. Nobody ought to think about getting a grip on it, man. Nobody responsibility. Never clean the bathroom this morning, man. Yeah, you should remember next time. Yoga's it's off the wall. Yo, I guess you clean out the showers, too. Yo, every one of them uses the showers. You're just being irresponsible.
If you want to act like a baby, you get screamed at.
What is that? I don't know the. Watch out! Like, why are you taking them deep ass breaths? Like, you don't need all them breaths to yell, bruh.
You want to act as more like a mature adolescent, you get talked to.
Speaking of cults, the social hierarchy at Alon is structured in a way that heavily resembles one. At the school, students are immediately placed into two categories.
Purple Snake.
Strengths, which were tenured, obedient students that were a few steps up the totem pole,
Not me.
and non-strengths, the newer ones who typically resisted treatment. Strengths were allowed to talk to fellow strengths and non-strengths. Non-strengths, on the other hand, were only permitted to communicate with strengths. If a non-strength were caught communicating with a non-strength, harsh punishment would soon greet them.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'll just be a
The
non-strength. then.
Alon school, as we've established, thrives on the feeling of hopelessness. Throughout students' tenures there, they were forbidden to contact anyone from the outside world unless they've earned the privilege through good behavior and compliance. Every single phone line from campus would run through a single switchboard located in this small trailer, and it was heavily guarded because of that. If a student were to gain the privilege of contacting their family, it's been reported that they're heavily monitored, only permitted to praise the school for all the good it's done to help them during their time there. If they ever were to be caught telling the truth or revealing the atrocities that occur behind the scenes, they were quickly disconnected, reprimanded, and robbed of any future potential to use the phone lines ever again.
That's great. I'll take my chances and run.
On top of the phone manipulation, every Alon resident was required to write what the school calls a guilt letter, which, as you might expect, is an explanation of how great the Alon school is for them, all the great activities they do there, and how well they're progressing through the program. These letters would be heavily scrutinized before being mailed out to their parents.
Jesus.
Effectively, this tactic's goal was twofold: to allow Alon's facade to remain in place, and to entice their parents to spend more money on their treatment, in turn keeping them there even longer
That's smart.
than they had ever
Unfortunately.
planned to.
That was a smart move.
In reality, students were helpless, being abused, and, in most cases, verbally tortured at the pleasure of the Alon school staff. It was clear to students that they weren't getting away from this anytime soon, and after realizing this, their minds would often pivot away from rebellion and towards compliance in hopes of powering through the program.
Told you.
This drove most of them to become somewhat brainwashed, ultimately stuck in a system that will do everything it possibly can to make their escape
Told you I'm psychic, bro. Y'all don't believe me.
impossible.
I'm telling y'all, bro. I said it like 5 minutes ago, bro. I'm telling y'all, bro. I be sleeping on me. I be telling y'all with this advice and y'all be like, you don't know what you're talking about. All right, cool. Don't have to listen to me.
As you might expect, the rules at the Elan school were immense. Exerting nearly totalitarian control over everything that happens, Joe Ritchie's set of rules, which he called guilt, was gargantuan and needlessly meticulous. As a student at Elan, you would be expected to refrain from doing the following: having any image, reading as a non-strength, not completing learning experiences, writing without permission, being sideways, looking at security zones, non-strength interacting, talking too loudly, talking too softly, looking at the opposite gender, being attracted to someone, any physical contact, looking out windows, unauthorized drawing, not listening to higher ranks, pretending to sleep at night, thinking of running away, being in the bathroom for too long, wearing dark clothing, being manipulative, being lazy while working, listening to music, talking too much, showering for more than 3 minutes, not talking enough, making facial reactions to orders, negative body language, pretending not to have guilt, oversleeping, undersleeping, smiling, and the list goes on.
You can't even smile? Oh my, I done lost, bruh. Talking too loudly. They said being sideways. What the hell is being sideways? Like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I can't sleep sideways, or I don't even know. Being lazy while working. Like, what is the definition of being lazy while working? Like, I'm not moving fast enough. It's not like you paying me. Then he said talking too much and not talking enough. Like, this is just outrageous. Like, how do you know if it's not enough, or how do you know if you're talking too much? Man, making facial reactions to orders. Like, yeah, I would have gotten in trouble a lot. I always make facial reactions. I'm just a facial reaction type person, bro. Yeah, if y'all watch my videos, y'all know my face says it all. I don't hide that. Looking out a window, bruh. Thinking of running away. Like, they're gonna be like, hey, you over there in the corner. You better not be thinking about running away. Like, how do you know what I'm thinking about? Like, that's outrageous, bruh. This is ridiculous. Oh my lord, bruh. Bruh, they'd have to kill me, son. Cause it ain't no way, boy. You can't even look at the opposite gender. Like, that's crazy, bruh. What if you want to get a peek? Or a punishment, just right there, shackled and all that, bruh.
And on. Clearly, these rules were not designed to be followed, causing harsh penalizations to become commonplace. To help enforce these, individuals known as expediters were designated by the school to stand on watch with clipboards. Primarily, they were known to catch those that broke 3 rules: being attracted to members of the opposite gender,
How would you know?
looking at the opposite gender, and making prolonged eye contact with anyone else. Since expediters too were required to fill their clipboards with names and infractions at the risk of their own punishment, they frequently and unapologetically made assumptions and accusations that were a lie.
Savages, bro. It's really
As you'd
people
expect,
like that.
punishment varied pretty heavily at Elan, and not in a good way. One example involved requiring a group of students to live in a dumpster for over 2 weeks. The expediter watching them was tasked with ensuring compliance and preventing any attempt to escape. If their subordinates acted out, however, the expediter on duty would be forced to live in the dumpster with them while being monitored by yet another who was up to the task. Another major tactic at Elan was humiliation. They figured that by breaking down their social barrier, forcing students into extreme embarrassment, they could drive them to a point of total compliance.
Hold on, I have to read what that sign said. I'm sorry.
However, the expediter on duty would be forced to live in the dumpster with them while being monitored by yet another who was up to the task. Another major tactic at Elan was humiliation.
It says, my name is Phyllis Cohen. I behave like an emotional cripple. What the hell is an emotional cripple? Like, you're not capable of like certain emotions or something. Constantly seek people's attention and try to get them to prove they care about me. Whoever put this together took their time with it, because all these letters are different colors. So they really sat there and kind of like had their like preschool days and just sit there on the ground with their legs crossed and have their feet going back and forth while they putting these on there and gluing them, and then you put too much glue, so you gotta like wipe it, peel the glue off your hand and all that. I play games and continue to insert people's emotions in order to make myself feel special. Please confront me, because if I don't change my attitude, something will happen. I'll always be lonely. Damn, they exaggerate, bro. They so extra.
Barrier, forcing students into extreme embarrassment. They can drive them to a point of total compliance. Those who tried to escape were often labeled as a split risk, and their punishment for doing so was confiscation of their shoelaces and the requirement to wear a bright yellow t-shirt and short pink shorts. The school figured that without laces, their shoes were effectively useless, in turn preventing any ability to move any faster than a walk. A more extreme example of a split risk punishment is shown with this student. Instead of a t-shirt and shorts though, he was forced to wear a bright pink rabbit suit with cuffs around his legs.
Jesus.
It's unclear if this is a repeat offender, but it raises the question as to how far Alon would actually go with this tactic.
Hey bro, I'll take my chances and run
Students that
barefoot.
smiled at a place were punished by wearing dunce caps and reduced to work that the school calls shot down. These involved repetitious, dull tasks like mopping floors, scrubbing the insides of trash cans, and even cleaning toilets with just a single toothbrush for hours and hours on end. If you had to use the bathroom during shutdown, it's been noted that approval by sometimes 6 or more superiors was required before you were able. And even then, an escort had to watch you while you were in there. This, on top of a myriad of other degrading punishments like humiliating sign and diaper wearing, it's clear that Alon kept an iron grip on their daily operations.
Diapers?
Their daily operations that took up most of the daily schedule, and those that were deceptively named by the Alon school themselves as their treatment.
Jesus.
But I will say, all of these punishments are relatively tame compared to what we're about to talk about.
Oh no, bro. I can't.
Let's just say, if you pissed off a staff member, they could start something called a general meeting on you. And trust me, you wouldn't want one.
What's up?
There seemed to be no standard for them. They would just happen at random multiple times each day. If staff were annoyed or felt like targeting a specific student for some reason, they could call a general meeting at any time. Once these words were uttered, everyone in the building would be required to gather in front of the student in whichever room they were in. "Get your feelings off," the administrator screams. And following this, each student in the room would begin screaming at and berating the student, firing off slurs and obscenities for nearly an hour long.
Jesus.
No matter how much the student pled for everyone to stop, no matter how much they broke down, no matter how much they cried, general meetings would not end until the admin said so. And when it finally did, the victim would lie there, often crying and exhausted at the relentless abuse that they'd just endured. It's clear that general meetings aren't designed to reprimand. They're designed to completely break each and every student that's the subject of one. And with this, we can effectively put the points together that Alon was doing nothing more than running an operation that commanded total compliance. Any self-thought or sliver of independence that students thought they had was gone. They were merely reduced to weapons. Weapons that, at a moment's notice, could just as easily be used against them.
I don't know. For me, the general meeting, I don't know if that would bother me that much, knowing that they're just yelling stuff. I mean, you can hate all you want. You here with me. It's going to be your
7
turn
p.m.
next week. Ooh. No.
Contrary to its focus on academia and outside marketing, school time within Alon was secondhand to the students' treatment. Typically, the time frame for learning was 7 to 11 p.m., but sometimes could run longer.
Oh, hell no.
As you might expect, there were no extracurriculars, no physical education, no projects, no legitimate exams, nothing. Instead, students were required to grade themselves on work that they were self-assigned with absolutely no direction.
A+.
The structure of class typically involved a staff member supervising a room full of children. Each night of learning involved completing work out of freshman-level textbooks, which, unsurprisingly for a group of teenagers, would be immensely uneventful. Given that class time was after a long day full of verbal abuse, monotonous tasks, and a hierarchy system that does nothing but suffocate the lower classes, students dozing off and losing track of their work was expected.
Yeah, me too.
Curiously, school time too was regarded as a privilege at Elan. Joe Ritchie has gone on record to state that the class schedule itself was designed this way on purpose. Allegedly, he believes students were easier to control while sleep deprived and utilized even this as a medium to work against them. By 11 p.m., if a student makes it through a night of work without issue, school hours then draw to a close. They're quickly released from class and escorted to their dorms, which were often in the form of uncomfortable, impersonal, military-style bunk beds.
Yep.
Sleep was known to be difficult, as designated students named night owls were assigned to stand guard with flashlights. In regular intervals, they'd shine them on the sleeping students to both ensure that they hadn't escaped and to secure the fact that they're actually asleep.
Yep, we had to do that in basic training, boy. Everybody knows I've been in basic training. We had them red flashlights. You have to go in and you have to check to make sure everybody was there. And then out of nowhere, bro, you start chilling. And the drill sergeant will come up and ask you how many people in there, how many weapons is there. And then if they didn't have a weapon, you have to tell them like where it was. And it was like, man, what? He'll go in there and he would count. If you got like one thing wrong, if you got the weapon wrong or anything like that, bruh, everybody getting out of the bed and they about to do some exercise, bruh. And then he gonna tell them why they got out of bed and everybody, bruh's gonna start hating you, bruh. It's just a matter of time. That's crazy. This is insanity. Like, I'll take my chances, bro. I mean, they can't kill you because obviously parents are gonna worry about their son unless it gets darker than that. But I keep my chances and keep running, bruh. Like, you ain't gonna catch me lacking. I know they got like some good supervision skills and stuff going on here, but somebody's gonna get caught lacking, bruh. And I'm just gonna have to run. You have to catch me.
Requirement that, as we can recall, was also in the list of Elan's rules. And if one actually manages to calm their nerves, dozing off into their only time of tranquility, that would allow them to effectively place the cap on a day in the nightmare that is Elan.
Jesus. I've never heard of this, bruh. Bioptic Wharf 90, bruh. Good video. This is some crazy stuff. World we live in.
Wake up.
And then you get to do it all over again.
Oh, hell no. I ain't doing nothing all over again.
A notorious aspect of Elan, among everything else that happened there, was something called the Ring.
I seen that movie.
Considered the highest level of punishment, Elan staff could make the call to start the ring at any time.
Like boxing?
The structure was set up similar to that of a general meeting, and was typically commenced when school staff believed that the punishment wasn't harsh enough for a specific student. In the ring, a student's designated as a bully and is outfitted with a face guard and gloves. Surrounding them are troves of others that are commanded to scream and yell obscenities at them. While this is taking place, specific students will be chosen to compete against the bully in numerous fistfights until school staff decided that they were sufficiently injured. No one was safe from the ring either. Some bore pre-existing injuries, some were much smaller than their opponent, and some were even pregnant.
Wait, what?
Even worse, things seemed to be treated like a game, with superiors commentating on the matches like they were on TV.
Pregnant? Hold on, rewind it back. Pretty sure the rules said not looking at the opposite gender or physical contact. So does that mean the instructors and the staff was clapping the people's cheeks? And this is that classic cult thing where only the leader can have sex with the women and the man can't do nothing kind of vibe. Kind of like a Charles Manson type stuff. And that other place, I forgot what it was called. And it burned down and stuff. I can't even think of the name, but it was something like that where the dude was having sex with everybody's wives and children, and it was some sick stuff. And I'm pretty sure the same thing's going on, because if you can't have physical contact amongst each other, then who's doing the physical contacting?
In reality though, this was the furthest thing from TV. This was handcrafted abuse. Elan was meticulous about orchestrating fights for the ring too. It's been noted that certain students would regularly be punished for another's actions, effectively engineering anger between them. This was often noticed between big brothers and their subordinates, as they'd be punished for the actions of their newer counterparts. And once they were angry enough, a ring fight would commence, often injuring students so badly that they'd sustain permanent brain damage, PTSD, and even death.
Jesus. Oh, I thought this was the Brady Bunch for a second, bro. I don't know why.
It costs $17,400 to send the average youngster to Elan for 1 year. Even at that price, there are judges, social workers, and parents who consider it a bargain. Elan's defenders claim it has the most consistently effective program for salvaging young people who are too difficult for other facilities to handle. So many states want to use Elan that there's a waiting list. But on the other hand, one state agency in Massachusetts will no longer send their youngsters here because they object to the way the children are treated. One reason is the use of physical punishment. Joe, you make no bones about it. There is corporal punishment here at Elan. Tell us about it. What are the stages it comes in? Who's it administered by?
Well, it's administered by the kids, first of all. Corporal, it's a harsh term, okay? What it is we have the ring, okay, which everybody misinterprets. It's not a boxing ring, it's a ring of human people. The bully is introduced as what he is. In this corner is the bully who's trying to turn this facility into a detention center, okay? And in this corner is the house champion who's going to show him why it can't be done. And that's exactly how it does. And we never allow the bully to win.
But girls get put in the ring, too.
Well, girls bully as well as boys do. I mean, you know, it doesn't, it's, you know, we're a equal rights facility. We also use spanking, which is symbolic. Again, it's a last resort, okay? And it's one resident spanking another resident, and it's done with a ping pong paddle, okay? And usually a person won't get spanked more than once or twice. But it's a symbolic thing, which is if you're going to act like a baby, you should be treated like a baby.
Bruh.
On December 27th, 1982, a 15-year-old Elan student named Phillip Williams was placed into the ring. He wasn't the largest kid there, but he was known to do what he could to put up a fight. He had grown up in a family of division, regularly witnessing his father physically abuse his mother. With this, there was an anger within him, a sadness that Elan noticed and wanted to exploit.
Jesus.
And so, that evening, a ring session commenced with Phil as the bully. There was fight after fight after fight. In the end, it's been reported that he was beaten up so badly that he fell flat on the floor, and it took an entire 20 minutes before an ambulance was called to help him. 20 minutes or so they called the ambulance. They took Phil and they never saw him again. His sister claims, "I thought it was a wonderful place. I thought they were helping my brother. I thought he was coming home. He came home all right. In a box." Elan's official response was that he had regularly faked headaches. The cause of death? A brain aneurysm. And no charges were ever filed against them.
What?
It's been clear to us from the beginning that Elan is not a place of good. From humiliation to beratement to physical abuse, Elan's tactics were archaic and inhumane.
How the hell? How, bruh? How in the hell you don't get investigated? What was going on back then, bro? You just legit, he just said he's spanking kids with a ping pong paddle, bro. And then he said there's the ring where you fight the bully, and the way he said it made it sound like they're teaching him not to be a bully, but everybody's getting a chance to beat him up. And he said he never lets the bully win. So if you are winning, they're probably going to do something to make sure that you can't fight back. Make sure that you sustain the injuries that they want you to sustain, bruh. And he fight after fight. They killed this dude. He had a brain aneurysm. They beat him up so bad, bruh, that his shit swelled up. And nobody got charged? They waited 20 minutes, bro. Do you know how long 20 minutes is when you have a brain aneurysm and you're unconscious? 20 minutes is a long ass time for any help. You have to put the 20 minutes for them to call an ambulance and the amount of time it takes them to get there because they were in the back in a secluded area. And he's gotten away with it? This is some shit, bro. And it's just crazy how just some people can be like, oh, this person did this to me and go to jail. No proof, no evidence or nothing. But dude, little kid, 15-year-old Phillip Williams gets beat up, bro. Dies from it. And then his family don't get no justice. That's crazy, man. Rest in peace, Phillip, and whoever else is about to meet their demise in this video. Because this is outrageous, man. That's why I don't believe in sending my kid to daycares, babysitters. Like I just can't, bro. I got to just deal with it and figure out my parenting methods if I ever have a kid. Because legit, bro, if I was in that stand back then, if that happened to my brother, bro.
That Elan is not a place of good. From humiliation to beratement to physical abuse, Alon's tactics were archaic and inhumane. For a school that markets itself on academia, on helping students get their lives back on track, it's crystal clear that this has never been the motive. What I find interesting, though, is that Alon wasn't even the first to utilize this type of therapy, this attack therapy. In fact, it has its roots in a cult that found its footing all the way back in the mid-1950s.
I wonder where they got that from.
That cult is one by the name of Synanon.
Cinnamon? Synanon.
With a warrant to investigate reports of child abuse.
In recent years, Synanon began calling itself a religion.
He's 52 years old. He's deaf in one ear. He's an egomaniac. But one of the wisest persons that I've ever met in my life.
He knows how to get people moving. He creates turbulence.
Gentlemen, until further notice, no member of the California Department of Corrections is permitted on Synanon property unless he has the express permission of Charles Diederich, Chairman, Synanon.
In early 1958, a man by the name of Charles Diederich Sr. would found the group in Santa Monica, California. It was intended to be a drug rehabilitation program aimed at delinquents. However, in the years that followed, it appeared to stray from that mission entirely. The distinguishing form of therapy employed by Synanon was something called the game, which in today's terms is more commonly known as attack therapy.
Attack therapy.
The focus of the game was to break down the social construct of an individual's mind by first allowing them to open up about themselves before commencing an aggressive beratement session, much like we discussed earlier with general meetings.
Yep.
The primary goal was to recreate someone's personality and sense of self by completely demolishing everything they know about themselves before rebuilding them as a newer, subjectively better person. It hinged on the brink of legality while being entirely immoral. And, unsurprisingly, by 1991, the cult would disband due to criminal convictions that caught up to many of their members.
You don't say.
The founder also died just 6 years later, leaving behind a dark legacy that, to this day, is known as one of the most dangerous and violent cults that America has ever seen.
Oh, it's still here?
This is, of course, the abridged history. To be honest with you, I could make an entire hour-long video on the operations and practices of Synanon, but that's a story for another day.
Some things don't change.
If there's one takeaway tonight, though, it's that it unknowingly served as an inspiration and blueprint for other institutions to follow. One of those being Alon, and by utilizing similar practices, they appeared to carry the torch that Synanon was forced to abandon.
She was dancing at sandals.
They knew they had to keep up appearances too, thriving off an immaculate public image, spearheaded by the charisma of Joe Ritchie. Before the age of the internet, admittedly this was easier to do. Television documentaries like NBC's For the Child's Own Good were seemingly the only inside look that the public was allowed to gain. However, even they failed to convey the true extent of what happened there. The hush-hush foundation that Alon was built upon initially seemed to be unbreakable. However, due to a rise in public attention that would soon find its way there, it was becoming increasingly apparent that the cracks beneath that very foundation were merely beginning to form.
You have to believe the children probably never gonna trust their parents again after this, bruh. You sent them away to get tortured pretty much, and they'll always remember that. But the parents didn't know that, but you know, so quick to get rid of your kids, that's crazy, man. I couldn't do it. Chapter 4, Some Eyes on Elon. I'm sorry, I missed newspapers.
Through the late 70s and into the early 80s, reports of the true nature of Alon began to spread by word of mouth from former students. Authorities in Maine reportedly visited the school upwards of 12 times to investigate.
There we go.
However, returned with absolutely nothing to show for it. Frustratingly, the operation that Joe Ritchie was running was completely and entirely legal. There were no laws in place for facilities like this, so it was allowed to remain in operation without issue.
But you have laws for assault and battery.
As we touched on, the media was the primary in for outsiders at Alon. However, even they failed to communicate the extent of their operations. While they showed select parts of it, unfortunately Joe Ritchie was given enough airtime to convince the public and the news crew that it was nothing more than their treatment taking place.
Sure.
By dehumanizing the students, Emphasizing their delinquencies on national television, he was able to use this notoriety to his advantage, ultimately swaying the public opinion into believing that what he was doing was entirely good. On top of the growing number of alumni, though, came an increase in escapees, which only furthered Alon's unwanted infamy. Over the years, 3 students, a 16-year-old unidentified individual, a 15-year-old Brad Glickman, and a 17-year-old Don Birnbaum would all escape successfully, however would meet wildly differing fates. For the 16-year-old, it's been reported that he ran over 15 miles through the wilderness in the middle of the night. He was eventually caught by an officer, Max Ashburn, and after hearing the boy's story and observing his physical condition, he helped him return home.
Oh, thank God. I thought he was going to take him
For
back.
Brad Glickman, he was shot in 1990. After escaping Alon's search parties, he made his way to a house in a small town. Authorities believed that he had a connection to the girl that lived there. However, the homeowner opened fire, ultimately killing him.
Damn, why you do that?
And for Dawn Birnbaum, she too had escaped the clutches of Alon, eventually finding a trucker named James Cruz who was willing to take her home.
Told you, just run.
A few hours down the road, though, Birnbaum would find that Cruz's true intentions weren't quite so virtuous. As it turned out, he sexually assaulted her on the side of the highway before strangling and abandoning her body between routes 26 and 550 in Pennsylvania. She was discovered by another motorist with a yellow rope tied around her neck and without clothes from the waist down. And from her corpse were tire tracks resembling that of a semi-trailer. Since Birnbaum had crossed state lines, an FBI investigation was commenced for her, and after cross-checking with numerous similar cases that have happened in the area, the truck belonging to James Cruz was deemed as the culprit.
Dumbass.
Upon catching up to him and searching his vehicle, authorities were able to find but a single blonde hair that belonged to Birnbaum, effectively leading to his arrest. Much to the school's displeasure, these cases successfully gained ample attention. Joe Ritchie resultingly paid off numerous judges and journalists in hopes of drowning out the negative press. However, outsiders were beginning to catch on that these students were running for a reason.
Now, just imagine that. This is the society that we lived in and probably still live in to this day. He paid the courts, he paid the newspaper, he paid journalists, and they all didn't say anything. They didn't care about their health, bro. This money, this world is money, bro. You have money or you're nothing. That's just how it is, bro. All these movies, what do you see when it's like the end of the world type stuff? What do they say? Oh, do you have money to pay for tickets? Do you have money for this? Oh, we're only picking up important people. If you do not have funds, bro, they do not care. And the fact that this girl, bro, escaped only to get recaptured, bro, by someone else and killed. Like, that's insane, man. I never understood that. Like, if you want, oh, there's prostitutes. Like, I know that's not the right thing to say, but I mean, they're giving it to you. Why are you gonna take it from somebody that don't want you to have it? Like, that just continues, like, bothers me to my soul, bro. You can go to Germany, go somewhere. They have those places for people like you to have a certain woman in mind that you can go in there and get. Why do you have to keep taking it from people, bro? It's just insane. Like, at some point, I'm just like, this can't be real, bro. This can't be the times that we live in, and this can't be how people actually think. Like, it's sick, it's scary, it's creepy. Like, just imagine her last moment, or just the feeling of happiness when she saw the truck, bro, only to realize that he didn't have those intentions to help her. Running that far away, 10, 12 miles, only to be like, yes, finally! And then you get in there and he's like, you're not getting out. I'm going to have my way with you and I'm going to kill you and ditch you on the side of the road like a piece of garbage, like you're not someone's daughter or sister. And I wish I had the ability, like, my ears will tingle and I could just teleport and be like, hey, stop! Pow, 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 pow.
But why?
Rest in peace, man. Jesus. Chapter 5. All eyes on Elaine or Alan. I don't know how to say it. I keep forgetting. I don't even care.
On the night of October 30th, 1975, a 15-year-old girl named Martha Moxley was out with her friends participating in what they call Mischief Night.
What's that?
This typically involved TPing houses, ding-dong ditching, typical teenager antics.
Ding-dong ditch.
Later that night, Moxley found a liking to a Thomas Skakel, eventually kissing him before the pair decided to venture off.
Hairy ass chest.
To the other friends in their group, seeing Moxley fall over the Skakel's backyard fence with Thomas was the very last time that they would ever see her alive. The next morning, the Moxley family awakens as usual. They go about their morning routine, however, notice that Martha is missing. Upon searching the house for her, they notice a body lying by the tree out in the backyard.
No way.
They approach it and discover a grim scene. Martha is lying, lifeless with her pants down. Her body appears to have been visibly beaten. A few feet away from the body, broken remnants of a 6-iron golf club.
Oh.
This club was eventually traced back to the Skakel family. Autopsy reports claimed that she was bludgeoned and stabbed to death, all by that 6-iron. And since Thomas Skakel was the last person she was spotted with that night, he was the prime suspect in her murder. Due to a lack of sufficient evidence, however, he, among the other suspects, were eventually absolved. And as a result, the Moxley case, frustratingly, went cold.
Rest in peace to Martha, man. Get some rest in peace in the chat for these young kids, man. Oh, man, this pisses me off, bro.
5 years later, Thomas's 18-year-old brother named Michael Skakel is arrested for drunk driving. His punishment, admission to Elan. While there, Skakel was known to be problematic and outspoken. According to Elan students at the time, he would regularly boast about a girl named Martha and how he sexually assaulted and killed her. One student named Gregory Coleman recalls this vividly, recounting how Michael had gone on record to state that, "I'm going to get away with murder. I'm a Kennedy." The Kennedy reference was alluding to his relation to Robert F. Kennedy, something that would prove pivotal in launching his eventual trial to the national spotlight. At the time of his confession, though, nobody could do anything about it. Given the overbearing nature of the rules set at school, any student that tried to tell someone about this was quickly reprimanded. It would take an entire 22 years before Skakel's actions would reach the public eye.
Thank you.
In January of 2000, he was arrested and charged with the murder of Martha Moxley.
Life?
And due to his relation to the Kennedys, it was a case that commanded the airwaves. Since Skakel's primary vehicle of bragging about his crimes was Elan, this, by proxy, had also thrust the school into the national spotlight. Dozens of students took the stand, exposing the callousness that occurred there. The humiliation, the general meetings, the beatings, the ring, the deaths, all of it was brought into the public eye. Realizing this, Joe Ritchie did everything he possibly could to keep discussion about his operation to a minimum.
Nope.
He eventually took the stand, downplaying any mention of Elan, touting its high success rate, and doing everything he possibly could to divert the attention back to Skakel, and Skakel only. But this was only marginally effective, as this was in the 2000s. An interconnected era of information, catalyzed by a little something called the internet. Michael Skakel was eventually found guilty of the murder and was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. After serving just 11 years behind bars, he was granted a new trial in 2013, in which he was let go after...
It's status, man. I'm telling you, it's status. How in the hell do you get 11 years? You get a retrial? How is a retrial even considerable? He beat her to death with a golf club. He broke the golf club. Do you know how hard you have to swing to break a golf club? He beat her, stabbed her, and sexually assaulted her, bruh. And he's got let free. And he can tell in his face he was gonna get out because he's a Kennedy. That's... Man, bruh. This is a system. Bruh. There is no way, bruh. This dude is outliving his best life, and this girl is done passed away because he killed her. And they're gonna let him live the rest of his life out like, oh, well, he had good behavior for 11 years. So? He should have had good behavior on the outside before he went out killing people and bragging about it. He don't care. He's not sorry. Look at his face. His eyes are empty. His lips is blank. Like, he don't care, bro. That's crazy, man.
Posting a $1.2 million bond.
1.2 million bond.
Today, he walks a free man. But back then, the cat was out of the bag. The inhumanities committed at the Elan School were documented in one of the most high-profile cases in decades. And because of this, people began talking, theorizing, and investigating, effectively marking the beginning of the end of Joe Ritchie's iron grip on the hundreds of students that were helpless beneath him.
I wonder if this place is still standing. I would love to go see it in person. Not like that, but you guys get what I'm saying. I have to,
But with his weakening grasp on the media surrounding his operation came a different hurdle that Joe Ritchie would soon have to overcome. In June of 2000, he was diagnosed with lung cancer caused by his well-known addiction to cigarettes.
Crazy.
And just 6 months later, on the 29th of January 2001, Joe Ritchie would pass away in Portland, Maine at 54 years old.
Without facing his actions.
As a result, his second wife, Sharon Terry, would take over operations at Elan. It was clear, though, that due to the increased publicity among the rising alumni testimonies, the idea of Terry having a lot of PR work on her plate was putting it lightly. Throughout the years, numerous changes would be put in place in response to outside criticism of the Elan school. For instance, the ring was eventually forbidden from being used as punishment.
What they got?
While this was substantially a good thing, the other cruelties would remain. What Sharon Terry was unaware of, though, was that due to the rapid rise in technology, namely the internet, even her reign over Elan would soon meet its demise.
The internet saved their life.
When the water settled following the Skakel case, mentions of Elan were made on various forums throughout the next few years. They would get people talking, however it wasn't quite enough for definite action. By 2010 though, something would change.
What?
A website that we all know very well
Google.
would help spearhead one of the most effective exposed stories in the history of the internet.
Wikipedia.
That website was Reddit.
I have Reddit, but I don't know how to use
On
it.
November 26th, 2010, a man named Jeff W., who went by Gazaz My Hero, would make a post titled, "Even skimming this once will blow your mind. Most probably think it's made up, but you'd be dead wrong." Within it, he explains that he was an Elan student in 1998, before outlining, in detail, the reality of what took place there. They're mostly points that we've already covered and explored in great detail tonight. But back then, these claims were unbelievable. The school was very much still in operation, so some initially had a tough time wrapping their head around the fact that a place like this actually existed. But then came the comments. The other stories from other alumni with their own experiences. Gazaz My Hero's post carried weight. It was real, and these atrocities needed to be known. Eventually, this thread would rack up over 2,000 likes and 1.4 thousand comments. While this may not have caused Elan's closure outright, it aggressively reopened old wounds. 2010 was not 2000. The internet user base was exponentially larger than it had been, and resultingly, the effectiveness of this newfound attention caused a massive amount of backlash that the Elan school had never before experienced.
There we go. Internet be putting in work. They still do. Hold people accountable these days, bro.
4 months later, on the 23rd of March 2011, the Elan school announced that it would soon be shutting down. Sharon Terry blamed the call on what they deemed to be libelous remarks made about them online. The school has been the target of harsh and false attacks spread over the internet with the avowed purpose of forcing the school to close.
False?
The school, unfortunately, has been unable to survive the damage.
Survive?
And on the
Damage?
1st of April 2011, the Elan school would close its doors for one final time. Officially, they blamed it on declining student numbers in hopes of diverting the attention away from the actual cause. But on the outside, everyone knew the real reason. For students, this was unbelievably good news. However, the damage they endured was something that would remain everlasting. It's been reported that numerous suicides have occurred as a result of attendance at Elan. PTSD with alumni is rampant, and it's clear that the school had done nothing but damage people. A filmmaker and former student named Todd Nielsen, creator of a fantastic Elan documentary named The Last Stop, has gone on record to state that, as a student, he was helped by their unconventional tactics, but he knew the majority of others weren't quite so lucky. Today, hundreds of stories remain online about the cruelty committed at the Elan school, about the facade they upkept for 41 years. Reading through these are eye-opening, and you can find them on nearly every piece of media and documentation that exists about Elan online. To all of you that have shared your stories, that have opened up about the torment you went through, your voice is the reason that Elan ceases to exist today. This video would not exist without you, and I wish I could say that I feel your pain. but I don't.
Yeah, me either. Is that it today? Or something?
While there are and have been other facilities like this throughout history,
facts.
Those are another story for another time. The legacy that Alon left behind is a dark one. Knowing the true history of what occurred off Number 5 Road is haunting. And no matter if it forever stands physically, the psychological destruction that it left behind will very unfortunately forever remain.
It sucks I have to depart leaving you guys this video, but this is just crazy, man. All I have to say is, what I take from this video is, just be careful with who you send your kids to, man. Everything may sound good on paper, but it's not always what it seems. Whether it's the job, whether it's you joining the military, whether it's you just follow whatever dream or goal you have. It may seem cool because you see it on TV, and sometimes TV don't show everything, you know? I feel like a lot of stuff that we think we want, if we were able to get, we probably wouldn't want it anymore because it's not what we thought it would be. One thing I do want to say is, if you notice, the one thing that was able to bring this whole thing down was us being able to stick with each other and work together to bring it down. People were like, you know, some were like here and there and stuff, but when one person, that's all it takes, bruh. One person reaches out and, you know, tell their story, is going to encourage other people to step out and tell their story, and more people are going to tell their story, and the people that were not familiar or what was going on, they're going to want to help too, and everybody's going to come together and try to bring that place down. And it's going to work because you have thousands and thousands of people saying stuff about this school, and now you're going to have to be like, okay, I'm going to have to shut this down or it's going to become a bigger problem. But today, it don't work like that anymore. Stuff like this is happening and people are refusing to work together because, believe it or not, Instagram, Facebook, news outlets, they do stuff like this to separate us. And that's why I tell you guys all the time, if you come here, man, you're a family. There is no separation. You're better than anybody else. If you're purple, cool, green, red, yellow, it does not matter. You're always welcome here, man, no matter what time of day it is. If, you know, I'm available or I'm not sleeping or something, you can message me. I'll message you guys back. It's a team effort, man. And at the end of the day, I'm just glad I'm able to do this for you guys. It just lets you know that life is short and be aware of your surroundings, and you never know it's your time, man. You can't trust everybody. I don't believe in hitchhiking, and it's just crazy how much you can get away with if you use the proper vocabulary, sentence structure. You can get away with everything. He downplayed it to the T. They believed him. It's like, oh, it's not as bad as you think. It's just a bully exercise. But he didn't tell them that that one bully is fighting 4 or 5 people until they're injured. And then for the parents that were not able to see their child again, or the girls or sisters, or, you know, didn't get to see each other, siblings, all that stuff, man, it's crazy. He's as my hero. He started it, man, and then people start flowing. I mean, a lot of people tried to talk, but people are just like, oh, it's not hearing it. And then it goes to show you that money can get you anything that you want. You just have to talk to the right person. He paid news outlets. He probably even paid cops, bro. He probably even paid the people that was investigating. You investigated 12 times and no one said anything. You investigated 12 times and didn't find no blood, no nothing, like anything weird, handcuffs, like you didn't find anything, and you went 12 times. I don't know about that one, but who knows, man. Like, Richie was a manipulator. He was good at talking. He was good at selling whatever he was doing that down in Elan, or wherever it was, Elon. And it showed, man. He traumatized and tortured people for a long time, and it showed. PTSD. I was about to say that, but he said it before I did. PTSD. Some people are never going to recover from this. And like he said, it was a large amount of suicides and stuff like that, and more than half of them are probably in, you know, mental asylums or mental psychiatric wards and stuff like that, because they were probably not used to society anymore. They was trapped in there for so long, tortured mentally, emotionally, physically, bro, deprived of sleep, hard mattresses, bro, 3-minute showers. You can't look or experience love, friendship, nothing. You were labeled as if you were nothing. If you didn't obey, you were a non-strength. Like, it's just, you can do so much, because they said the human body is so strong, but you can get pushed to your limits to the point that you would just obey, even if it's against all your beliefs. And it's just, it's crazy to think that he really did that to kids. Like, me personally, if I seen a newspaper of my kids saying, or someone of the kids saying, oh, this is happening there, like, I'm taking my kid out, bro. You can keep the money, but I'm taking my kid out. That's just, I don't know how the parents must be feeling to be like, I paid $50,000 for them to torture my damn kid. This video is by Nexpo, man, so make sure you guys swoop down the description box, click on the link, and watch the video in its entirety, because I was pausing and stopping and talking through the whole thing. Bye out there, Warp 90. Thank you so much for recommending this video. This was a really good video. Not like that, but it was really detailed. I love the illustrations. I love the footage. I love the animations. Like, I loved all of that stuff to kind of paint the bigger picture of what was going on. Definitely felt that, man, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I really was hoping that Richie didn't die and he got the full extent. That Kennedy dude got released. It was just like nobody, if you think about it and go back, nobody got punished, bro. I know, happy ending, like, yeah, they all free, but at what cost? They're already mentally destroyed. They're already messed up beyond like recognition. They're not who they are anymore. Even through his death, they still suffered, man. But yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Reprisalzems, and welcome to the Crow's Nest. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned. Maybe uploading again in possibly a week or so, because I still have to deploy in flights and stuff and quarantine. So I'm still going to be around. I'm still going to be commenting on videos and stuff. So if you guys need to reach out to me, make sure you hit me up on Twitter or just comment down in the YouTube section. But sometimes YouTube does not give me notifications, so I have to go and check, and sometimes I'm busy. So if I don't respond to you right away, it's not that I'm ignoring you, I just haven't seen it yet.